For the past 2 months, my son and I, we traveled all over the United States in search of amazing photography opportunities and all-around adventure, and man, did we find some cool stuff. This video is the first part of that expedition, and a lot of you are familiar with the camera gear that I use. I use a high-powered telephoto lens and a really high-resolution camera that really allows me to get really close to these animals, but from a real safe distance. And all of the stuff that you see in these videos was taken either from the safety of my car or from a good ways away from these animals. It's always best to keep a good safe distance from any wild animals and obey all the local rules, laws, and regulations because they vary from area to area. And it's important to remember that those rules are there to protect you and the animals. A lot of people don't realize that these animals are so protective of their young for a reason. There are predators that are waiting there to take their babies, and if you were to separate the mother from the young, you could actually be the cause of the death of those babies, and I don't think anybody wants that. So with all that out of the way, let me show you this cool little place in the Smoky Mountains called Cades Cove. If you've been there already, then you know what it's about. If you haven't, guess what? You get a front row seat, so come on, let's go. Deep in the heart of the Smoky Mountains, a full moon hangs in the sky while the sunrise paints the misty clouds with soft pastel pinks, soothing blues, and hints of purple. The smoky mist that this area is well known for blankets the tree line and clings to a meadow filled with lush, vibrant flowers. 2 young deer eagerly graze on the rich supply of dew-covered grasses and flowers as the sun starts to peek over the mountains and washes over the entire valley, bringing with it an incredible golden light. A large white-tail male deer raises his head and fills his lungs with fresh morning air. With over 200 million scent receptors in his nose, this impressive buck can smell any form of danger from over a half a mile away. His brain decodes the molecules floating in the air, and past experiences help him determine if the scent in question is friend or foe. When he's satisfied that no danger exists, he wags his tail, relaxes, and continues grazing. It is a peaceful scene in Cades Cove, a 4,000-acre valley that appears to exist in a long-forgotten time. Surrounding the valley is a lush, dense canopy of maple, gum, and pine trees. Intertwined within this beautiful forest are miles of hiking trails just waiting for exploration. And it's here that we come across an animal that enjoys the simple bare necessities, a young black bear. At first glance, it appears as if this bear has peacefully passed on, but this carefully chosen pile of old rotten branches is the perfect location for a mid-morning nap. Not only is this spot hidden and surrounded on 3 sides by large fallen trees, but it also has the perfect amount of soft, dappled sunlight filtering down through the canopy like a nice toasty blanket. And this bear is enjoying every single bit of that warmth. Like I said, the simple, bare necessities. And talk about being relaxed, this bear is flat out on its back with its paws on its chest and its mouth slightly open. Let's leave this bear to its dreams of sweet and succulent cherries and see what else we can find. A little further down the trail, and we find this male wild turkey who puffs up his feathers in hopes of attracting a female. The lack of light in the woods isn't going to do much to show off this bird's impressive plumage. He needs to move out into the meadow where the light can really help him show off his colors, like this. Wow, take a look at this bird. What an incredible display of color. And when he puffs up his feathers and straightens his neck, his feathers come to life with all sorts of cracks and crevices that make for one incredible amount of texture. Simply amazing. And this bird isn't a one-sided work of art either. As you can plainly see, this bird's other side is just as beautiful. And from this angle, his feathers look like a giant chunk of burning wood. The dark feathers look like layers of shiny charcoal, and the tinges of red and orange look like glowing embers. And you can't miss that tassel of what looks like hair coming out of this turkey's chest. That is called a breast beard. Yep, that's correct. A breast beard. And the older the turkey, the longer the breast beard. Wow, what an incredible looking creature. In the tall grass that fills the meadow, A single crow nervously peers through the lush growth. This bird knows that wide open spaces aren't always the safest places to be. A little further in the forest, and we find a pileated woodpecker who is looking for a tasty meal among the old rotten tree branches. This is the largest woodpecker in the United States, and the abundant tree cover found here makes this bird feel comfortable enough to forage on the forest floor. A little further up in the canopy, and a much smaller downy woodpecker makes an appearance before fluttering off into the woods. Just to the left and a little further up in the trees, and we see something much different. Something small and black is clinging to the side of a tree. 2 trees over, and we see yet another small furry black creature perfectly balanced on a tiny tree branch. These are very, very young black bear cubs, and they are in the trees for a reason. The trees give these cubs protection from predators like coyotes and male black bears, who are both notorious for killing and eating black bear cubs. It's time to back up and give these young cubs some space for their safety and our own. And what do you know? There's Mama Bear now, and right behind her, a caravan of 3 tiny cubs who stealthily hunker low to the ground and use the tangle of fresh undergrowth to conceal their presence. Back out in the open meadow, and the long thick grass dances in the morning breeze, but the birds have grown eerily quiet. A quick look into the trees on the side of the meadow reveals why. I think I recognize those feet. They are crow's feet, and I don't mean those wrinkles that sometimes appear around an older person's eyes. Those feet belong to a crow. And I think those brown striped feathers belong to a barred owl. Yep, that's definitely a barred owl, and it has managed to catch a good-sized crow. I didn't know barred owls actively hunted and ate crows, but apparently they do. This owl seems to be enjoying its late morning meal of crow, so let's leave it alone and see what else we can find. Back across the large, wide-open meadows, we move deeper into the forest. A group of tiger swallowtail butterflies gather along the side of the hiking trail. Delicate flowers on the ground lead to a tree full of blossoms. A beautiful mountain laurel creates a wonderful distraction for the eyes, but my ears are telling me to look to the left because I can hear the faint sound of tiny footsteps thumping out a steady rhythm on an old rotten log. I slowly look towards the approaching sound, and 3 adorable bear cubs come marching through the forest. These cubs are busy learning new skills while they attempt to navigate a huge maze of pine cones and tree branches. This fallen tree makes the perfect bridge, and it helps the cubs safely cross the giant pile of rotting limbs and make their way right back to Mom, who's eagerly waiting on the other side. Time to give these bears some space, so we head back to the car for one last drive around the 11-mile paved loop road. And what do you know? Our 2 young deer from this morning. They've made their way across the vast meadow and are now grazing by the roadside. But something catches my eye on the other side of the road. A full-grown black bear standing on its hind legs. What an awesome perspective, and I mean that literally. It turns and looks right at our truck, and I fire off a couple of shots of this beautiful bear standing in a meadow of flowers. The early morning light really helps show off the amazing color and texture of this bear's fur. This incredible vantage point for the bear and all of the people watching from their cars causes what the locals call a bear jam. Cars back up for miles as the adult bear makes its way to the other side of the road. The bear takes a few steps into the road and pauses, making sure it's safe to cross. Wait a minute, is that the mother bear? I see movement in the bushes on the side of the road and turn to see 3 cubs impatiently waiting by the roadside. Their patience runs out, and one by one, all 3 cubs trot out in the middle of the road where Mama Bear is waiting. They pile together, a little unsure of themselves in the open road, but Mom's warm, wet nose is all the assurance these cubs need. She sniffs each cub and gives them the occasional lick before all the cubs pile under Mom for safety. She safely leads them across the road where she patiently waits at the base of a tree. And that can only mean one thing. It's nap time for these little cubs, and Mama Bear is telling them it's time to climb high up in the tree, find a nice forked branch, and take a well-needed nap while she continues to forage for food. The cubs, they do just that, and they climb high into the tree where they stretch their little paws, take a big, "oh, I'm so tired" yawn, and peacefully go to sleep. Cades Cove is a simply beautiful place, and I think you'll agree, and now I understand why everybody falls in love and never wants to leave. If you do want to go, I have a suggestion. Don't go on a Saturday. There's far too many people, and you might not actually make it around that 11-mile loop in time to see any of the awesome wildlife, which brings me to the other point. If you do see some awesome wildlife, keep a good safe distance. The rule for the bears there is you gotta stay at least 50 yards away. That's the law. You should respect that. And I'd like to thank a lot of people for helping me with this video. Jack and Dave, my fellow Florida shooters. It was always a good time shooting with you guys. Don and Caroline that run the Mountaineer Campground where my son and I stayed. Thank you for your awesome hospitality. And Ann, thank you so much for teaching us about the wonders of Cades Cove. It was great spending time with you as well. And as always, don't forget to click that thumbs up, comment, let me know what you thought of this video. And until next time, I'll see you later.